Welcome back, everyone. We just finished up turn 3 for Old School Tactical Volume 2, Scenario 1, The Lost Boys. And we're now moving down to turn 2. We started at 5 turns. We've now counted down. We are just going through the turn sequence, turn marker, reinforcements, attached leader weapons. I might grab a weapon here for that leader. Well, actually, leaders can't grab weapons, so we're not going to grab a weapon. So he's pretty much just stuck there. All my other combat that's taken place really didn't cause me to have to recheck attachments of weapons or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is just continue down the tracker. There's no smoke, no snare rolls, no free rally bog needed. Initiative roll. Here we go, initiative. Let me bring it back over here to the dice rolling box. Germans had initiative. Oh, Americans had initiative last time, so I'm going to let them roll. Just to be nice. They roll a 10, and Germans roll. Let's see if I can see that. Oh, a 9. Well, Americans retain the initiative going into turn 2. Now we check for impulse points. If you saw our last episode, the Americans ended up with 6 casualty points total. And let's see. 3, 4, yep, 6. And that means they get -1 to their total. So they're going to be 1 dice 6 plus 2. Whew. 1 dice 6 plus 2. That's 3 impulse points for the American player. German player has taken 3 casualties, but not enough for a casualty point. So they get to roll and keep their 2 dice 6. And again, 4. This has actually been pretty low as far as impulse points. This will probably be our lowest grand total. Americans retain initiative. So what would they like to do? I'm just looking at the board with you here. They don't have anything to do there. Like I said, I want to try and move that leader. Try and get him to safety. So what we're going to do is move back a hex. This was a building hex. So by moving backward 1 hex, I break line of sight. I'm going to leave those weapons there. Then to cross, because if I move down to the house, that would trigger opportunity fire, and that one protection turns out really, really sucks. Bocage, where are you? Bocage costs 2 to cross plus the terrain. So if this here hex is clear, that's going to be 2 movement points, and I've got 4 movement points. So 1, 2 for that, and then the 1 point for the clear terrain. That's it. He spends his turn booking out of that house and crawling his way through the bocage. We're going to give him a move, because what he wants to do now is try to find a way to sneak down and try to get to this, try to sneak around and come down to get to this squad here and maybe join up with them in that crew served and see if he can assist them at all, since that platoon there was wiped out, half platoon, whatever you want to call it. Actually, all that was in, yeah, that had a squad. That had 2 squads. That's where most of the casualties came from. That half platoon kind of got wiped out. All right, so that was my 1 impulse point there spent. So, because what did we start? We started with 3, so I'm down to 2 impulse points for the Americans. Now the Germans. Does the bocage would block line of sight normally, but since we're right up against it, let me check on that, because I wonder if I can move fire through the bocage. I just checked the handy dandy rule, because again, I can't remember everything, but you got to be adjacent if you want to shoot through the bocage. Otherwise, that bocage is so thick of stuff, you're just not going to get any effective fire. Like it says, if you're in an adjacent house, you could shoot to the bocage, but that's about it. That's fine. That's fine. That means, actually, what we'll do, because, well, let me see. I've got my Americans down here. I'm trying to see if this house if I have a clear line of sight up that side of the road as well. I do. They don't hit the house. So check that out. If the Germans then decide to move down and take that objective point, the Americans can opportunity fire at them. Oh, Americans are in a good spot. They can shoot. Oh, they can't group fire though because there's no leader with them. Okay. Well, that's what we're going to do. Germans are going to spend 2 impulse points. We're going to spend 2. I'm spinning the impulse points now. And they're going to move down here as a group. 1, 2 into that hex. So I'm going to put move because they didn't plan on. Actually, they're going to do a moving fire because line of sight's reciprocal. So I've got a move marker ready for them when they're done. But the American's going to opportunity fire. Now, because there's no leader, so there's no group fire down here in the south, it's just going to be that firepower of 3. So this crew serve weapon opens up. Now, it is only 3. And they have to decide, am I going after, they're going after the squad with the attached leader. Leaders, we've seen, make a huge impact on the game. So we're going to try and take that leader out. Now, the squad has a defense of 4. They're in the open. I've got a firepower 3. So what that means is I've got a -1 column that I'm going to roll on. Well, let's see what happens. All right, so Americans fire. Let's see, I got 3 right there and a 2. That's a 5. I don't get any pluses for any attached. There's no attached leader, so it's just a 5. So let's take a peek over here at what happens. -1, roll a 5. Oh, I'm looking at the chart right now without having to pull it all out. It's nothing. So they fire. They tried. So let's go back to the map. All right, so I'm going to put a fired marker on top of the machine gun unit. Oops. To remind myself that they fired. That's only 1 impulse point because again, there's no grouping, no leaders or anything like that. So they actually could fire again. But the Germans did a moving fire. So again, they're bringing that kill stack. Oh man, that's bad. Because that's 10. 4 for the squad over here, that's off camera. 4 for the next squad, that's 8 total. 2 for that machine gun, so that's 10. And because I failed that cover roll before, there's no cover. And a crew serve weapon's only got 3 defense. So that's the +7 column. Yeah, I think that group is toast as well. Well, let's roll and look at the chart. All right, so we're going to roll because there's a leader that's +1, but it's moving fire. So they get -1. A 9. That's not good. So I'm over here at +7 because that's 10. I'm going to come down. 9 is just a couple spots down. X. All right, so that's bad. All right, so what we got to do is we got to roll a dice 6. Well, I won't keep moving the camera around, but on a 5 or a 6, that gun remains on the field. We'll just put an unmanned counter on it. So let me just roll it over here. Bloop. Oh, okay, great. So basically that means the gun is destroyed as well. So I'm going to lift this up. That crew served medium machine gun is gone. Might as well take that marker off. They don't need it. So protecting that unit right there, that victory, that objective point area is that reduced squad. The medium machine gun, crew serve gun comes off. That goes up in my casualty box. And then, let's see, how many, I think that's just worth 1 casualty point. Crew, crude weapon, oh, a crude weapon, because that's gone totally, that's 2. So we suffer 2 more casualty points. We need 10 to suffer 1 more impulse roll modifier. I did forget one thing though. Because the Germans did capture this point here, they're worth 2 victory points to the American, or to the Germans, and worth 3 victory points to the Americans. So let's see how that plays out on their board. So the Americans going to lose 3. That's going to put them at 6. Then the Germans gain 2. Not the best, but if the Germans can capture one more victory point location, that will win them the game. So let's take a look at the map at this point. Well, first of all, let's finish this up. So that was actually moving fire. Wow, why would you not ever do move fire if you could? That -1 on your die roll really isn't that bad. And if you have a leader attached with you doing all that group stuff, that's great. Because the Germans still have 2 impulse points because that's the one stack they've done. So that's fantastic. They could shoot again and clear off that spot. Wow. They are doing really well. But that means, though, up here, I probably need to move. I should probably move them down just so they could be adjacent to the bocage and maybe shoot and try to defend that point. Because the Americans at that spot where they're at, they can't shoot through the bocage and they can't see through it to know when the Germans take it. So that's not a super good defensive position because we just lost the medium machine gun that was down here. Since they failed to improve the protection on their point, we just have a reduced squad there. That's not good either. Yeah, this is looking really, really poor. The thing is, though, the scenario is, you know, by the end of the turn of the last turn, or however, you know, if you play the extra turn or not, we just got to have more victory points. Right now, we have more victory points. We just have to hold on. And to capture a victory point, you actually got to move people through it. So the burden of taking this is still on the German player. The Americans are just holding on. And that's where we're at. The problem is I don't have enough impulse points left for the Americans to do another group move. And then it then becomes a situation of, do I move the squad with the leader down or the squad with the BAR down to try and cover that control point from them? It'd be a squad versus squad. I think I'll just move the squad with the BAR down because that's inherent firepower. Later on, I could bring the other squad down. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna take this. I'm showing you stuff. You can't even see it on the camera. See, I got the 2 squads up here, one with the attached leader or the one with the BAR attached. So I'm gonna move the BAR squad down. That way they get that +1 permanent firepower there. So they're gonna move 1. Now, this German unit can't shoot at them because the bocage is like right there. However, we're going to move right here. That's 2. This German squad doesn't have line of sight, so they can't do opportunity fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The other German squad here, this platoon probably could shoot, but they're out of range. The LMG has a 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So luckily that American squad is out of range, so they can move up. I think what I'll do is actually stay here, move here, and we'll spin the impulse point to do that, move there, and then I'm going to put moved on them. Because even if I can't opportunity fire, I'm out of impulse points. So if the German squad hops to take that, then I can actually hop and return, maybe do a melee combat, and I have a slight advantage on the melee combat. If I could also bring down this guy, we might be able to maybe shoot and eliminate the squad and then move someone in. We're going to protect that point as best we can. And it is the German player turn, so they actually can go ahead and take this now. We're going to go ahead and hop it, because remember, crossing the bocage is 2 plus cost of terrain, which is 1 because it's a road. So that's 3 movement points to fight our way through the bocage and take that control point. Now off camera, I'm going to adjust the victory points. So that's 2 more victory points for the Germans and a loss of 3 for the Americans. 1, 2, 3. So right now, the German player is winning. And he could do moving fire through the bocage, actually. The German player could, because he's going to get -1 on his roll, his combat roll. And then the American player actually has some pretty good defense through the bocage, because you get it's -2 to your firepower. So let's try that. So that's going to be, or is it to the die roll? Let me double check that. Okay, so it's not a change in their firepower. Their firepower is still 4, but it's +2 defense for this foot unit. So really it's going to be 4 firepower, and then it's going to be 6 defense. So they're going to be rolling on the -2 column. Now, because they are adjacent, they do get +1 on their die roll. But let's see how that plays out, because again, we're going to be on the -2 column. All right, we're down to the last rolls that can kind of make or break this game, down to the wire. So they do roll a 7, +1 is 8 because they're adjacent. And then we'll just pop over here real quick to the -2 column. 8. Possibly shaken. Well, interesting. Let's see. Gut check for Americans are an 8. Oh, a 7. Ouch. Well, all right, let's see what happens on the board. So what I got to do here is first I'm going to put the shaken. Boop. And then we put fired. Right there. And that's impulse point. Well, actually move, sorry, because that was his moving fire. So we'll put a moved on him. Okay, now the Americans don't have any more impulse points left. The German player has impulse points. Right now, the German player has the definite advantage. They're going to shoot again through the bocage because it's adjacent. This time, there's no, oh, you know what? Let me check, because they get to -1 for moving. But +1 firepower for the adjacent target. Yeah, I think let me roll. Oh, it's still shaken. Even if I messed up my calculations on, like I told you, math is hard for me. So this time, the German player is going to fire. They're not moving this time because they're done with movement. They're not, yeah, so they're staying put. So it's going to be adjacent is +1 firepower. So I actually have 5 firepower. Then, yeah, so I should have been rolling on the -1 column, not the -2 column. Again, it's all very important how you keep track of your numbers. It's not complicated, it's just me, okay? So the Germans have a 5 firepower. The Americans get +2 defense for the bocage to the 4 that they have. So that is a 6. So actually they're going to be rolling on the -1 column. Now because, yeah, so there's no die roll bonus for this. Because I was thinking for some reason adjacent was a +1 to the die roll. But there's no, let's see, adjacent actually gives them that +1 firepower. So no, they don't have any penalties or bonuses to the actual die roll itself. Alright, so I'm sure this time I actually took a time to read my chart. So we've got 6 defense against 5 firepower, no dice roll modifiers. Here we go. A 5 on the -1 column without even having to look or show you guys. That's a complete miss. Woof. All right, just so you know, that was actually very, very important to have happen for the Americans. So we'll just put a used marker on there. That's the last impulse point for the German player. Fantastic. And we are ready to move on to the last turn. What I'm going to do is actually just end at the end of that turn. I don't think I'll roll to see if you would do the last extra turn. So we'll just play out this last turn. So we're going to clear markers. Victory condition is basically at the end. You see who's got the most victory points. So right now the German player does have the most victory points, but we're going to play one more turn. Let me double check the victory condition. Control hexes are worth 2 victory points each for the German players, 3 victory points for each Americans at game end. So we've got to play one more turn. So turns out this corner of the battlefield could very well shape it. Also, depending on the impulse points that we get, if I can get the German player, let me flip that to a German side. If we can get the German player down here to that middle road as well, that could also really secure it for the German player. So this might look like it's a very much against the American player. It's not totally stacked because, again, they're just holding on till, maybe reinforcements arrive. So we're going to go ahead and advance to our next turn. We'll see you then.